Okay, so we got our clock face here, and what I am going to need are my spinners. Whoops. And I'm just going to open this up. And I want one of those. Oops, get that off there. And I just want a brad. Anyone will do. And then I'm going to put it back in its case here. Okay. Get this up here for you. Stick it through. All right. So first thing I want to do is put this down where it still leaves it visible. You can read this. So this is where I use the glue gun, and I'm just going to put some glue on here. Okay. And doesn't matter where the thing is. Right about here at an angle, as you can see on this one. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to get my butterfly out of the package. And I want this one. And I'm going to put a little hot glue on the back of it. And I'm going to arrange it so I can still see the O. Now I'm going to get my petal-leaf flowers out. There's one package, here's the other. I'm going to start with the blue. And in this one I'm using the blue-green. I'm going to open my pink ones as well. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one off. Okay, make sure that make sure that this is glued down pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit here. Okay, actually, I grabbed the wrong one. This one. Okay, so I'm going to cover up some of my clock here, and I'm going to add some glue down to the back. And I'm just going to put that right like that. Okay. The next one that was used is the one with the little, looks like copper. And I'm just going to smush that kind of right down underneath there is how it's going to play. So I'm going to put some glue on there. And I'm just going to slide it right in there to mash it in there so it sticks out some. Okay. The other blue one I'm going to use is this one. And that one's going to go right here about. And I'm going to reserve the rest of these for inside the album. Now for the pink ones. Okay, I used this one. I'm looking at this like this. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to grab this pretty one right here. And these do have some green leaves sticking out, so if you don't have these have some. Okay, so let's go ahead and affix these down with the glue. A little hot glue there. And I'm going to gently lift this up and just place it at an angle there. And this one is going to go kind of tucked underneath there. Okay. So there's our cover. All right. The next thing we're going to do is move on to the spine. Okay. So what I want to get now is my ornate plates. And I already have a pack that's opened. And I am going to use I'm just going to grab one. This one will work. And I'm going to grab a couple brads out of there. Perfect. I think those two are the same. No. Grab two gold little brads because my plate is gold. Put that aside. Whoops! I about lost the video camera. How about that? Let's scoot it up a bit. Let's see what we're doing here. Perfect. Okay. Go ahead and put your little brads through there. And do one at a time. Hold it in there. Okay. I just kind of bend them off to the side because I'm not going to puncture it through. I don't need to puncture it through. I'm just going to hot glue this down. You can puncture through if you want. I don't do it. Not all the time anyway. So this is what I've done. You can see. Okay. My sentiment I want to use. I used a sentiment on this. It says, "Time is short, enjoy the beauty of every moment." Now, I can't remember if I actually got this out of the paper stack or not, and I think I did. So let's take a look. Find it. Looking on the cover, there are sentiments on right here, and that's where I got it from in the back. I'm going to tear this out. Okay. Place it over there. Whoops. This is what happens when you don't have a big work area. I think next time I'm going to take you on down to my studio at the hobby store and then we'll do it. Okay, so what I like to do is instead of just cutting into the paper, here's the sentiment I want. I'm just going to cut straight across this paper. So a small area. And then I'm going to stick this extra off to the side. And then what I'm going to do is right here at the end of this one, beginning of this, right down in between as best I can, I'm going to cut. Great. And then I'm going to get my little sentiment cut out there. All right. Save that. Now, if you maneuver this correctly, you will be right in the center. You can see that. Okay. What I like to do is make sure my little prongs are out of the way. Okay. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to add hot glue. I think I put too much on there. But anyway, then what I do is I kind of hover over it and just place it right down. Okay. Whoops. I did get too much hot glue. So I have it just like this. Okay. And if you feel like it didn't adhere very well, you can always do some more. Okay. Now what I do is I just trim off anything that's poking out. Okay, so our spine is ready to get this pretty sentiment put right on it. And it's going to go just like that. Okay, so I flip my book over just like this so it stays for me. And then I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to put a little hot glue around here so it holds down. And then I am just going to plop it right down. Okay. There. Looks pretty good to me. Good. Now we need to get our bling on a roll. And we're going to run a nice line down here. So I'm going to open up my package. Look like they clipped it right here. Okay, and for this I'm just going to measure out what I need here. I need to clip it right about here. Now I need my hot glue. Just going to run a nice line, and I'm going to do this in sections, not all at once, because my glue will dry on me. I'm going to clip off this last little bit. There. We are good. Now we are ready to have some fun on the inside. I think we got everything we need. It looks identical to this one. Yep. Perfect. So we're ready to start doing our inside of our front cover and our first page in here. And this is pretty much what it looks like. So I'm going to get my paper pad out and I'm going to find, and here it is. So find this sheet. There's a little clock at the bottom. And at the top, it says, A Time to Remember. Let me get it out of the book. Whoops. Great. Okay. I am going to trim this off because I did kind of tear it when I took it out of the book. So trim that little piece off. So here we go. What I'm going to do is, looking at it like this, is I am going to cut it exactly 6 inches, right in half. So let's do that. And you'll have 2 pages like this. Okay. Your first page is going to go over here. You are going to cut it, you got 6 across, you're going to come down and cut it, this piece off, down 8 inches. And you will have this left over. Okay? And you're going to be putting it down like this. This is where your score tape comes in. Move that out of the way. And I am also going to just cut a little piece off and stick it right there in the middle. Okay. Because I'm going to have another piece over on this side, I'm going to kind of look at where my top edge up here falls, and I'm just going to do right here. So I'm going to remove the top part. And we're going to do the same thing where we only come down so far. And this should be good here. This looks pretty even to me. That's good. Okay, so I got that down. Now I'm going to do this. And don't forget your middle adhesive. And there we go. We got that down. Okay. On the pocket, you have the opportunity to wrap it around the back, or just have it, I forgot to wrap it, but that isn't going to hurt anything, okay? Now, because I didn't wrap this around the back like I normally would, I do the other way too, where I just go ahead and grab an extra piece of cardstock, and I am going to cut it just a hair more than 6 inches wide, so about 6 1/8 on this, and I am going to then cut it by about 4 inches. Okay. If you have, so when you have this down, if you're not using the fancy punch, you can just at this point underneath here use your score tape and use this as your base for your pocket, okay? Or you can use your fancy edge puncher, okay? And I'm going to do that. And on the next pocket we'll do the wrap around the sheet. It makes really, to me, it makes no difference. I do it both ways. Okay, so this is what we have here. All right, so I'm going to get my score tape, and I'm going to go right, I don't know if you can see this or not, okay, right here at the edge, coming down. And here. And the bottom. So your stuff doesn't fall out the bottom. Okay. Let's first get this down and then worry about whether or not we want to adhere down the sides here. You can leave them undone or not. I usually like to adhere them down. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll cut the piece for the top. So there's different techniques, different ways, just all in how you feel. Okay, so I took it all off here at once. I'm just going to make sure I got my corner here, and I'm going to even it up with the bottom so it's not crooked, and I'm going to lay it down. Okay, now as you notice, this whole thing on the sides, you can leave them like that. I personally don't like to do it. At this point, you can use a little hot glue. Be careful, just minimal. Just dot it, push it down. It's fine. It isn't going to go anywhere. Same thing over here. Just a little bit. Push it down. There. Okay. Now for here, I used the clocks and that paper. I'm going to find it in here. I may have used more clocks than I realized. That's okay. I brought my leftovers. The clocks are on the back side. Actually, my last piece. The clocks are on the back side of this. So what I am going to do is I am going to cut a piece off here, which would eliminate me being able to use this. Or what I can do is use, like you can use your second piece, of course. Let's see if I have that though, extra. And I do actually. Okay, here's my extra piece. Actually, it's already cut at 6 inches wide for me. Okay, so I don't have to. I did have leftover here. All right. And it looks like I got this off my other paper pad. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure what I need here. So 2 3/4. And also we did this, I believe, at a 4-inch. So I'm going to go 2 3/4 by 6 inches wide. Okay. And here it is. For this, all I'm going to use is my glue stick. It's not going to hold any weight. And I'm just going to make sure I get my edges pretty good here. And I'm going to set it right down here. And when you're using the glue stick, just make sure that you rub your fingers over it and make sure it gets a good bond. Okay. I used the Tim Holtz crinkle ribbon for the bow. That is up to you whether you want to use the Tim Holtz crinkle ribbon. You can use any ribbon, really. Alright. So all I'm going to do is just cut off a piece that I know that I can work with. And I'm going to grab this and just roll it into a little ball. Now there is bow makers that you can use to get perfect bows. I don't use them. I just do the best I can and then try to make it pretty. Okay. And that is good enough. Now if you don't like the worn, torn, frayed edges, just snip them off. Okay. There. Whoops. go. And I use the hot glue just a little bit there and center it. And you can make your tassels longer if you like. It's all a matter of what you like. Okay, picture mats. This was left over and I am going to use it. You should have some leftover cardstock here. And all I do is make sure I have 1/16 edge around the whole thing. Sometimes I just stick it on the paper cutter and slice it on down for the size I want. So we're going to go ahead and cut around this mat. So that I have a little border edge. They have punches that will round the edges for you if you want to do that. Those are available. So what I got here is a mat with black going around the edges, and I'm just going to adhere this down. And we're going to move along to the next page, and sometimes what I do is wait to see what I have left over to do the mats that go in each pocket. But I do see that I have some that looks like I used right off the bat. And I can do that. So we are just gluing that down. Make sure it's down. Okay. Just stick that right on in there. Okay. Looks like I used this. And again, you will find that piece. It was on the back of your clocks. Okay. So let's cut around this and get that done. I'm going to snip this right off here. Okay, you'll find that there are leftover sentiments that are great, matter of fact, for card making. Congratulations, celebrate like a birthday or graduation, best wishes. So there will be leftovers in this that you can use in your card making. Okay, so I have this. If you like to ink the edges, ink them. I didn't ink any edges in this album. So what I'm going to do is the same thing on all these mats and tags or small mats. I do the same thing we did on that first picture mat. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And there is no right and wrong to how thick your border is around. That is all in taste, what you like to do. And I like the smaller borders. And it just helps, to me, I think it just brings out the colors of the mat really good. And then once you adhere your photos down, it doesn't take away from your photos. It actually helps give it a great frame look. Okay, so I had another mat in here, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to move on to this next page, and that is this. Now I had this at the bottom, so I'm going to cut this the height to 8 inches, so it will fit perfectly. Now one thing I've learned is sometimes when you're measuring, you think you have it right, and there's other times where you're just a hair off. So look at this before you put your score tape on the back. And I usually grab the page I'm working on and I make sure it fits and I'm not going over into the crease, because if you get this over on the crease, it isn't going to work. You're going to end up getting a big bend and your page is going to be not wanting to turn. So I am going to just lean over here for a moment and make sure that this is cut correctly, and it is. So now it's time to use my score tape. And I'm going to do what we did on the other. Now this particular size has a fold out. So we are going to have to do the fold out before we adhere this down. Alright. Now, this is the way this is, but we need to put our fold out page. And what I used was, find it here. Hopefully here it is. Is this page, and I want this one. So I'm going to neatly cut around that because I used the other ones. And if you have any residue from the just trim that off. Okay, so I have this. Okay, now comes in the black cardstock. And I believe you have leftover sheet here. And the same thing, I want to be able to have a little edge around here. So, but don't cut on this side. Don't cut this side off yet. What we're going to do is we're going to cut straight across here. Okay, and leave yourself a little edge. Okay. Now, for the fold out, what I usually do is I just place this here so I have a good measurement. I'm going to leave a 1 inch. So I'm going to place this down on my cutting. And this is an easy way of doing it rather than having to grab the ruler every single time and measure and all that. I'm going to stick this down and I'm just going to slide this. I have my little edge here. And I'm just going to slide this on over to where it gives me about an inch play before I cut, okay? And you don't have to have exact inch or whatnot. Okay, so this is what we're going to end up with. Now we need our score buddy. And I'm just going to place this right up here, and I'm going to place this where I'm going to have my edge. Now, because the score mark actually hits right on the edge here, and I want a little black showing, I'm just going to move this right on over, and I'm going to score it, okay? And then there's another space to score it, but that's a pretty thick score to where you would have, so I'm just going to move it over a hair and give it a, so this is what you're going to have. I think you can see this where there's 2 scores. Okay, and then I am going to fold it on those scores. Now, so you're going to end up with a nice little spacer in between. Okay. Now, because this is going to be going this way, okay, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put a thing of score tape right there. I just need just 1 strip. It's plenty. Okay. Now, go ahead and pull this off. Okay. I come up to the first crease. Okay. And I'm just going to go like this. So it's there. And I could have spaced it out there if I wanted, but it is going to work. Whoops, it isn't going to work. There. I got that one thing in here. So what's going to happen is once I pull this, it's going to adhere down even better. So, and before I place this down in my book, it's easier if I glue these down. So I'm just really quick going to use my glue. And get it even. What's nice about this is that you can move it around to adjust it, the little glue stick. Make sure that's down. So that's down. And on the inside of that, I used, here's the leftover of this. So I'm going to cut that out. Flip this out and glue it. Now this page is ready to go into the book. So, I know this page is going to fit. And I'm going to come halfway down. Same over here. Okay, make sure your fold out is out. And then what you're going to do is just grab your page into your hand, make sure you get the bottom, and you have your little bit over there and a little on the other side. Okay, and it's even. And then just go like that. Now we're ready to take off the rest of this. And then you can just cut off the excess there if you want. And it's all going to glue down nicely. Okay, your first page is done. Voila. Has a nice even spacing. So if you wanted to stick a flower under here, it's not going to pop it up like this. And it lays nice. Moving right along, we're going to be creating this page. And if you notice, it is this paper, the bottom. It's a greenish print. On the other side is this. And we're going to have a top fold out. And on this page, we're just going to have a little square place where you can slide in your tags. Okay, so what we're going to want to do first, here's our album we are going to be doing. We are going to cut this 6 inches right in half, and then we're going to cut it by 8. So first cut is 6 inches, cutting them in half because the other side is going to be for the other side of the page. And then we're going to cut it by 8. And make sure that you don't cut off this part. is our page. I got my score page. The next thing is we're going to be looking for the sheet that has this pretty frame on it. And if you notice on the original, I did cut off the pink border around in order to fit it into the album. So we're going to go ahead and cut this off. We're going to cut the trim off, just leaving this pretty little scrolly frame. So let's do that. Okay, so now I have this, and as you notice, once we mat it down to our black cardstock, I've got some right here, and I am going to do about a 1/16 black frame around here, so I'm going to cut it down this way. Now, whoops, that did not work well, did it? Okay, so now we have this, and if I center this up between, I am going to come down about 1 inch so that it gives me a flap of 1 inch to score and fold over my page. About 1 inch. So I'm just going to put this down, make sure when I score it, it scores right. And I'm going to move this over a little. And I'm just going to score once. And then I'm going to score it again. So if you can see this, my score marks. And I'm going to crease it where they are. And I am going to adhere this down with my glue stick. Since there is no pockets, this is just a basic fold out. And bringing this back on the other side, we used just any type of, it's this paper. So I'm going to find that, if I still have that. Let's see where it is. Aha. I had this paper left over, so I am going to measure out what I need for this side. So making sure I give enough room to allow for a 1/16, 5 by 5.5. Remeasure that. We had 5.5 by 5.5. I may have cut this incorrectly, but let's see if I fit, and I do perfectly. I do all right. So I'm going to apply apply. I'm going to move this over just a hair. There we go. I think this will work out pretty good. Put some adhesive down there. Make sure. One thing is to get this straight. And that is good. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is use a little score tape. Oh, I didn't get my second crease going there. Alright, I want my score tape now. And I just need a little bit here. I just need one strip. Alright. So this is how I do it, and I got it down there. Now all I'm going to do is lift it off. Alright, now I'm going to want to adhere this down to my main page. So now comes my score tape on the back. And if you want, you can always do a sliver in the middle. It doesn't matter. So, let's see how we did here. We should be just fine, and we are. Again, make sure your page, you're centered here and you're not going over your crease, which I did not. Smooth that down. And this page is done. The next page we're going to use the leftover, which was the other side of this. And I want to keep this, so I'm going to cut off the excess up here, and we need an 8-inch cut. Now on this page, we had the little square down here, and I am going to go ahead and adhere this sheet down because there's nothing to fold in behind. once you've done a few of these pages, it'll get easier to center and get your page down. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to grab one of my scrap papers, and I am going to find that little piece, if I can. And it's right here. All I'm going to do is put some glue down, and I'm going to, with a little black edge around it, center this. And at this point you can either cut it by hand or use the paper cutter. I like to use my paper cutter to get straight lines. Okay. So I keep hitting the camera, sorry about that. So we want this right down here, but we don't want to put adhesive up here, just on the underside of the bottom and the right edges. So I'm going to flip it over, put a little score tape here, and a little piece over there. And there you are. And we had a tag, and it was this tag, and I'm going to cut that out really quick. My dog hears something. We're having workers in the backyard today, so hang tight. Lucy? No. Come on, Lucy Lou. Come in here with Mom. Alrighty. So I've cut this out. Now I'm going to mount it, and I have a scrap piece right here. I am going to mount this to black cardstock, and again I do leave about a 1/16 or a little less black edge around there. Okay, and I usually end up snipping this off by hand. Well, I can hear that thumping outside. You probably can too. So, excuse the noise. They're actually ripping out our back deck. Okay, so this is what I have. And now all I do is I take my little punch, of course. It's elementary, actually. And I'm going to get some of my crinkle ribbon and cut off what I think I need. And I'm just going to crinkle it like I want. And there it is. Now, you guys already know probably how to do this. How I do them is and there's several ways to tie off. You could stick this end through and then tie at the top. I like to loop it over like this, pinch it, and feed it through. And again, I'm using a small punch. It's easier to use a standard punch. And when you're doing this, don't just pull really hard, okay? Just let it go as far as it's going to go. And there's your tag. On to the next page. Okay, now this is a more difficult page, and I'm going to show you why, and you'll see really quick here. Let me get my stuff in order. Find this paper in your pad. Now, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. We're actually going to be cutting it short because of the fact I like to utilize all my papers. And sometimes with the design on the paper, if you notice, this is the page you want, okay? If I cut it right down the middle so that I can get both of these on here, it's not going to be 6 inches because it's not centered. So what I'm going to do is find the middle point just in between the two frames, and I'm going to cut it straight down. I'll show you what I get. So as you can tell, I've got 2 different sizes here. Okay. On this side, I actually used this and then this. So we're going to start with the easier side, and then we'll move on to the short, because if you notice, if I was to go like this, we're going to have a gap of black, which you can do. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'd need to do now is trim this paper down. So the easiest way to do is just their first cut, go ahead and trim it now to 6 inches. Alright. Alright. The next, you're going to make a cut straight across here. And you can use this little line, the green right there where it divides, as a measurement. Okay, so now this is the easiest way to do this. So now what you got is this, okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut off the excess, so measure down 8 and cut it. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to make sure this fits, that I made an accurate cut, and I did. And I'm going to adhere this down, and then I'm going to embellish it. What did I do with my scissors? There they are. Now again, if you don't want to do it this way, choose another, another paper. But I thought this came out cute. Okay, so this is where it's going to go. I'm going to double check. I've got my black little edge around there. We're not going over the crease. this over so I can see. I'm going to make sure I'm squared here. Okay. Okay, so I used one of the pink butterflies and then a little sentiment saying, let the good times roll. And it was this butterfly I used, so I'm going just to put a little hot glue. My embellishments, I'm always using hot glue to make sure they stay. So I'll just stick it right here. Just a little bit. You don't have to get under the leaves because we're going to, I think, tuck a little on that. Okay, so now I am going to look for my next piece, if I still have it. And it's a sentiment saying, let the good times roll. And here it is, right here. And I am just going to cut this out. I'm going to mount this on a black cardstock like we've been doing. And then I'm just going to adhere it down. All right. And I'm going to use my paper cutter because it's better than my hand cuts. And then from there I can trim it down if needed. All right, now if you notice on this, it's raised, so let me show you on that how I do it. I am going to put a little bit of hot glue here, and I've slightly bent it a little, and all I'm going to do is fashion it. The leave a little down, and you can have your tag sticking out. If you don't like it up that much, you can just pin it down a little with a little glue and crease it up, and then it makes a bubbled look. Okay, on to the next page. I am going to take all these mats out so you can actually see. Okay, we're going to create a side pocket, and we are going to find that piece of paper. So I wanted mine slightly up, okay? So what I did was, right where the tip of this flower was, I cut it straight across. And again, you don't have to do this. Now that I know where I want to be, and as you notice what I was talking about, if you pull it over, you're going to have this. Okay. Now what I want to do is cut the excess off. So cut down 8 inches. Okay. Now you have 8.5 here, and you don't have to be totally exact on how far you come out. Okay. To fit on this, if you cut it the same way as I did, I only need so much from the edge here, so I might do a 1.5 inch by 8.5, or 8 actually. Okay, so actually I ended up cutting a 1 3/4 by 8-inch strip. I've put some of my score tape down on the back of this because we're going to do this the easiest way so I don't lose you. And I'm going to put this down first. So I'm just going to measure this over, and remember you want to measure over this way and leave the extra cardstock showing on that side. So I think this will be okay. All right. And I'm going to get this down. Now, on the other one, I didn't use a fancy border. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to put score tape on the other side of this, and it's just going to be here, here, and here. Oops. Okay. So watch what you're doing here. Make sure you're putting it down the right way. You're going to hold up your page, and where it's going to go is right here. So what I'm going to do, so that I get it on fairly straight, and I'm going to go down halfway here. Okay. Perfect. So, got my thing. Now, make sure that you run your fingers, make sure it's down really good. Now, what we're going to do is cut a strip of paper to fit over this so it's doubled up and it's pretty. And what I used, and hopefully I still have it available, being I'm only using with a short stack here, is it's this one, and it says time is short, enjoy the beauty. And being that my black cardstock was 8 inches, this is going to be 8 inches or just a little hair shorter, so you can still have your black outline. And we did 1 3/4, so just a hair less than 1 3/4 wide. And I am going to look for that and see if I still have that available. I may and I may not. I may have already used it. Let's see here. Looks like I already used it, possibly. So I'm going to have to pick a different one, because I do have this, and I can probably use that and it'd be just fine, but it's not quite wide enough for me. Let's see. I can do that, or I can do pink. Some clocks showing. And I'm still hunting around here. See what I have. So I'm going to do something different, and what I want to use, and you have it available, and being that I do not, I am going to use this. I like this. This is pretty. So I'm going to make my cuts. At least I don't see it in my mess of papers. So, here goes my first cut. Right here. And this is how it's going to play right down like this. And I'm just going to use my glue stick. Make sure I get my edges really good there. And line it up as straight as possible. Okay. Now, I also used one of my petal flowers, and it was this one. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. Put a little glue on there. And then I also used my crinkle ribbon. And being that my area is a scattered mess, I do need to find that, and here it is. And all I did was hand form a bow. And crinkle up my paper. It's easier for you just to make a ball like this, then undo it. This way. Now, it's all a matter of what you want to do as far as how long you want to leave your little tassels off your bow. And I'm just going to do something like that. A little glue and glue it on down. I did not get my thing very good, so we're going to shorten it even more. There. Great. Now, the mats that I used were just these. So what we can do is, if you have this paper left over, oh, and there was this one too. If you have these left over, which I think you should, it's just a matter of me finding them because I'm disorganized today. Okay. And I cut my paper funny, so there's that enjoy the moment. And I'm just going to cut this and use this as a mat. And your mats can be any size you want. So this particular one, most of them I do are like a 4x6 or something. I've just cut this chunky. And it's up to you. This way, there's a larger photo mat that can be used. And again, I'm going to mount it onto black cardstock. one thing you'll find out is when you do use the paper packs is that a lot of the colors, they just go together, so it's easy to match up and blend and things that go in the same theme. Okay, these were the other ones. So there's one. And then the cardstock that I used for the next one was this. And I'm going to find that. I think I've already got that cut out somewhere. Possibly. You can use any one you want. And I have mine already cut out, obviously. Somewhere. Here it is. Right here. So I'm just going to trim off this little birthday little sentiment off to the side. And then the rest is purely up to you how you want to do it. And like I said, sometimes I wait until I'm done creating an album. Then I go back and add the mats and the tags. Make sure there's enough, and there's plenty of variety. So we're going to go ahead and move on to next page, but just so you know, this one was used. And I did a small little one too, along with this in here. So this is how it was on the original, like that. Alright, let's move to our next page. Now this is one where I'm going to teach you how to wrap the pocket around your paper, and it's also a fold out. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find this paper, and I think it's sitting right in the back of our, it is, it's one of the last pages, second from the last or something. So I'm going to get it out. And then I'm going to, I've got glue residues and stuff at the top of mine. So I'm going to trim that off. So this is the paper here, and I'm just going to go 6 inches right down the middle. Okay. And I don't want to cut this off. This is for this page, and we can mount it really quick since there's not a whole lot going on there. So 8 inches. And then on this side, of course, you'd want to cut 8 inches and reserve the rest. Alright. So to start with our pages, on our book, let's do the easy side first. And all we're doing here is we're going to make sure everything fits. And if you need to trim, trim. Sorry about that. Can you shut that door between the two? Thank you.
Are you on pause?
No, I'm taping. Alrighty. Alright. Let me shut that door off. There. Okay. Now you might be able to hear me better. Okay, smooth her on down. Okay, so for the second one, I'm going to move this out of the way. And what I've done is look for the little clock page, and that there's 2 pages actually. There is the one with there's 4 6x6. There's 4 6x6 squares on one sheet, and I may have used all of mine. Let's see. If not, you can use the other, but I'm going to look for mine. That would be on, I think it would be on the back of. Let's see. And again, because I'm short-staffed here, I may have to use a different one. There's this one. Mine is a little narrow, so I think what I'm going to do is use this so I'm not so narrow, because I did have to trim quite a bit with the glue adhesive and I tore at the top of the thing, so that's what I'm going to do. So I just don't see. And I probably should have just brought a new pad, but I did not. Okay, so I'm going to use this, and it's going to work just great. Okay, I'm going to measure out. I have 4 1/4, and this is the black cardstock. 4 1/4 by 6. So measure out a 4 1/4 by 6 and cut. 4 1/4. Whoops, that was wrong. I didn't give you enough. Do a 5 1/4 by 6 because you have to have your hanger. My apologies. So 5 1/4 by 6. Okay, the reason why is because we have that little foldy deal we need to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is use my Score Pal. Okay, measure over, it's 4 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to give it, because there is a pocket on the outside, there's nothing on the inside, I don't have to be so wide, so just do your 2 scores. Okay. Sometimes I have to think about what I'm doing when I do this, so. Alright. So now you're going to cut a piece, and if you use those little, the pages that have the 4 different 6x6 patterns on it, it'll be measured down 6, and you're just going to have to go 4 and 4 1/8 should work there. Let's see, and it does perfectly. 4 1/8 by 6. And then for your back side, I used a blue. And I think I do have some of that left over. So I'm going to do the same thing for the inside. 4 1/8 by 6. Okay, so make sure your flip is right there, okay? And let's go ahead, don't glue this down yet, because we're going to wrap a pocket. But if you're looking at it like this, flip it over and glue down your inside sheet. And I'm going to use my glue stick really quick here. Perfect. Okay. Set this to a side for a moment. Now we want a pocket. Now I used a decorative punch for the top. What I do is I'm just going to grab a scrap piece. This one is let's see. All I need is a little on each side. So if you were to do, let me give you a measurement so you can do. So if you have, oops, let me do it this way. You might be able to see. I'm gonna cut this, leave the length. I'm actually, if you don't have any spare pieces, I'm actually at about 3 1/4 by 6. So 3 1/4 by 6 should do it. Okay, I'm going to use my fancy punch. Okay. All I do here is I kind of just look really quick to make sure I'm going to be up as far as I want. Now I am going to grab my score tape, and at the bottom only of your piece, just snip off a little bit, okay? Peel it back, take your piece, line it up with the bottom edge. Now I'm just going to turn it over and fold it in. Get that crease going where I want it. Piece of score tape here. Piece of score tape. Yeah, whoops, I'm a little short there, huh? There. There's that. That's it. That's all there is to that, okay? And then now we're going to, since there is a pocket, I am going to run on the back of this my score tape to make sure it stays down, especially if you're adding weight, a lot of picture mats, or if you're going to add an extra embellishment on the front, which I only put a pink flower. But we're going to look in our scraps next, after I get this down, to give it some color right here. And again, there is no standard size to making these, okay? I make them clear across here. I mean, you can do anything. It's all up to you. So, because I want to make sure this is straight, we're going to go ahead, remove it halfway down, unless you've gotten real good at this and have no problems with lining it up. I always do though. So, whoops, looks like I got some glue adhesive here. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so make sure you don't go over your crease. All right, we're good. Now what I do is, to give it some pretty color, I just find some scraps. And I do have the same scrap as I used on the other. And all I'm going to do at this point, I wanted this centered. So first I want to know where I'm at. And I think 1 3/4 by 4 is going to do it. Whoops. That's the bad thing about having a camera over your shoulder. My apologies. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And I wanted to make sure that this is semi-centered, so I know where I need to be. I forgot where I measured at before. Okay. And here we are. And I'm just going to glue that down. Wait. Actually, it's this side I want. Perfect. And just going to now grab your pink flowers. The one I used is this. Add a little hot glue to the back. And voila. Now let's get it on here. And you just want to put some score tape to hold it down. Okay. Perfect. And then you can add a tag in there or a little mat. There's several of these, and I'm going to go ahead and put one in here. So I'm going to trim off any excess that I don't want. And I'm going to try and find a scrap, which is right here. And I'm going to trim around it. All right. And I'm going to mat down. That one. And then I did use a tag. And I gotta find that page because I have a lot of scraps going on in front of me right now. Here it is. And it looks like I used this tag. So I'm gonna do that really quick. And I'm going to find a scrap piece of paper. And I'm going to go ahead and cut around this so that I have a nice little border. I always do. Okay, glue her down. Oops. And I did clip the circle, I believe, in that. And my crinkle ribbon. Get that through there. Great. Okay, let's get this down on our page, okay? So let's get our score tape.